25% exposure to Asia, that will give you access to Asia. But if I need to catch anybody, I'd rather catch somebody in San Francisco or New York, where I know where you are, I know where to get my information and reporting and so on and so forth, and attend your annual meetings, etc., all in a close geographic area. There are some folks who have said, look, we need to invest in Asia for the long term, and we need local specialists. We just don't want to be invested in large global firms who will have a slice of exposure to Asia, but not necessarily a large exposure. So those LPs have then taken a call and then backed country champions. So they've backed the Hony Capitals in China, or the folks in Indonesia. I'm blanking on the name. North Star in Indonesia, and Australia specific, Southeast Asia specific, India specific. So all these the other funds, then these are funds like IFC, CDC, people like Goldman, some family offices, some of the sort of, I would say, 10-ish billion LPs are in that bucket, where they're happy to come to Asia, do the round of meeting their GPs in the 3-4 countries that they've invested in, and they're comfortable with doing the extra work, so to speak, of managing multiple country relationships. And then there's the third bucket, which is LPs themselves, like CPPIB in Brookfield and CDPQ and now GIC, Temasek, all these guys, ADIA, they're all setting up India offices now. So they all believe that 220 is too much to pay, and they're all looking for, if not their own teams, at least a very large co-invest. But that all of that expertise can only come from having a team on the ground, because you will not know which are the right deals to co-invest in unless and until you have your own people there and they sniff around in the market. They have a sense of what makes sense, because there's a certain speed required in some of these co-investment opportunities, as well as doing your own thing. So all of these guys have smallish teams, I would say 4-5 people teams that are there. But I think that is probably the pool of capital that will grow the most in the next 4-5 years, because these guys have massive pools and they don't mind even doing a 12% deal, because if they were to go through TPG and pay a 220, and they would still end up with a net IRR of 12-13%, right? So if there is a deal in the market which is giving that kind of IRR, they don't mind putting $1 billion to work, whereas somebody like a TPG will not be able to compete with that kind of construct. So I think those are the third kind of LPs actually which are here and are already very large. I think Brookfield has already invested $4 billion, CPP has invested $2 billion, CDPQ has invested, I think, already $1.5 billion, and all in like a year and a half. So I think that's a major change. And IDEA, I think, is investing a full team now to invest in India and Asia. So I think we'll certainly see much more sort of direct LP participation.
I see. Which I think we're running out of time. Maybe we'll ask you one more question, but it's extremely helpful, and I think we may need maybe another call, or if we, let's say, move forward on this opportunity, we may discuss different types of engagement. Maybe if you are available and have time to support us, help us. But for this call, maybe as a final question, do you see teams, either spin-off or a first-time fund type teams emerging and looking for sponsors? Is it a trend? And are they good teams which you're aware, which you think that there can be a good opportunity? And a bit related to that, let's say for $500 million fund targeting mid-market investments, what do you think the right size of a team in India on the ground?
Okay, so first